The money ladder. How my salary changed the way I saw the world. I thought I was pursuing money, but I later realized that what I was actually pursuing was the power of choice. I used to believe money changed your life when you finally had enough of it. I thought there would be a specific number, a salary where everything suddenly became easier, a point where stress disappeared, a point where I would finally feel successful. But after moving through different income levels, I realized something. Money doesn't work like that. Money doesn't transform your life in one dramatic moment. It changes you slowly, a paycheck at a time, a promotion at a time, a decision at a time. The person I was when I earned days an hour would barely recognize the person I became years later, not because I became someone else, because money changed what I noticed, what I feared, and what I believed was possible. The first years, living on Vintes Zero. My first real job paid around Vintes Zero a year. When people hear that number, they usually think about the lack of money. But the reality is more complicated. The hardest part wasn't simply having less. The hardest part was having no margin. Every dollar already had a destination before it arrived. Rent, food, gas, phone and bill, insurance, everything had a purpose. There was no room for mistakes. I wasn't thinking about investing. I wasn't reading about the stock market. I wasn't planning retirement. Those things belonged to people who had money left over after surviving. My entire financial strategy was simple. Make it to the next paycheck. I rented a room in an older house because a studio apartment was out of reach. The room was small. The furniture was cheap. The walls were thin enough that I knew when my roommates came home. That kind of living changes your relationship with privacy. You realize that privacy is not just space. Privacy is ownership, the ability to close a door and know that the world outside belongs to you. I remember standing in grocery stores looking at prices, not comparing quality, comparing survival. A few dollars difference mattered. A Keen's purchase could affect the rest of the week. People who have never experienced financial pressure often misunderstand it. They think being broke means you don't understand money. Actually, you understand money better than most. You know exactly what every dollar does. You know exactly what happens when one unexpected expense appears. A flat tire isn't a minor inconvenience. It's a problem. A medical bill isn't paperwork. It's a threat. A broken phone isn't an upgrade decision. It's a financial calculation. My car had over 180 miles. The check engine light stayed on so long that I stopped thinking about fixing it. I learned the difference between problems that could wait and problems that couldn't. It didn't fill my gas tank. I added Vinci whenever I needed fuel, not because it was convenient, because it was convenient, because it was control. When money is limited, even small decisions become negotiations. Gas or groceries, new clothes or repairs, dinner with friends or another week of staying home. At that stage of my life, money wasn't something I controlled. Money controlled my options. The biggest fear wasn't being broke. The biggest fear was wondering if this was permanent. The first taste of stability, 40 to 50, zero. The first meaningful raise didn't make me rich. It made me breathe. That difference matters. When my income increased, I didn't suddenly buy expensive things. I didn't change my lifestyle overnight. The first thing I bought was peace of mind. A little space between my income and my problems. I moved into my own apartment. It wasn't luxury. It wasn't even close, but it had something my previous place didn't have. A door that belonged to me. A place where I could make decisions without considering someone else's rules. That feeling was worth more than the apartment itself. Around this time, I started contributing to a 400 At first, I didn't understand why people cared so much about retirement accounts. When you are young and struggling, retirement feels like a problem for another version of yourself. But I started learning. Compound growth, employer matching, tax advantages. The financial system wasn't designed only for people with money. It was designed for people who understood how money worked, and that was the beginning of another realization. Making money and understanding money are two completely different skills. A higher paycheck doesn't automatically create wealth. A lot of people increase their income and simply increase their expenses. The car gets more expensive. The apartment gets nicer. The lifestyle expands. But the financial foundation stays weak. The middle around 75, At around 75, my life looked completely different from where I started. I wasn't wealthy, but I wasn't constantly worried. That changed everything. I stopped checking my bank account every morning. I stopped calculating every meal. I stopped thinking about money every hour of every day. And that created something I hadn't experienced before. Mental space. For the first time, I could think about the future. Not just next month. Not just the next emergency. The future. Career growth. Investing. Building something. This is the stage where many people think they have made it. But something interesting happens. Once survival disappears, comparison begins. You start noticing people ahead of you. The coworker who earns 120, The friend who joined a tech company and received stock options. The person who bought a house before prices exploded. You realize income is not just about lifestyle. It's about access. Access to opportunities. Access to networks. Access to time. Breaking 6 figures, saying zero. For years, saying zero felt like the finish line. It was the number everyone talked about, 6 figures, the symbol of success. When I finally reached it, I expected some dramatic feeling. I expected to feel different. I didn't, because numbers look different before you have them. After taxes, healthcare deductions, retirement contributions, and living expenses, the reality becomes more complicated. A saying zero salary in a small town and a saying zero salary in Manhattan are completely different experiences. Location changes everything. The same income can mean comfort in one place and pressure in another. At this stage, money also changes how people see you. Family members assume you have extra money. Friends assume certain things are easier for you. People ask for advice. How should I invest? Should I buy a house? Should I start a business? The strange part is that everyone sees the number. Few people see the responsibility behind it. They see income. They don't see taxes. They don't see career pressure. They don't see the fear of losing the position that created the income. The high-income world, 150, 0 to 250, 0 above 150, 0. Money starts changing from survival into strategy. The conversations become different. People talk about stock compensation, real estate, tax planning, portfolio allocation, equity, long-term wealth. You stop asking, can I buy this? You start asking, does this make sense? The biggest luxury is no longer expensive products. It's flexibility. Being able to leave a bad situation, being able to take a career risk, being able to say no. Money becomes valuable because it gives you control over your time. But there is another side nobody talks about: distance. The more your income grows, the harder it becomes to explain your reality to people who live differently. Not because you become better, because your problems become different. Someone struggling to pay rent and someone worried about optimizing taxes are both dealing with money, but they are playing completely different games. Same country, same economy, different realities. When money becomes power. At the highest income levels, money stops being about consumption. It becomes influence, access, relationships. Your network becomes an asset. The people around you are not just friends or coworkers. They are investors, founders, executives, professionals. Information moves differently. Opportunities appear differently. The game changes, but so does the pressure. Because when your lifestyle depends on a certain income level, protecting that income becomes a responsibility. The higher you climb, the harder it becomes to step away. The part nobody expects. Looking back, I thought I was chasing money. I wasn't. I was chasing freedom. At 20, freedom meant surviving the month. At 50, freedom meant stability. At 100, freedom meant choices. At higher levels, freedom meant control over my time. But every level had a price. Low income creates stress because you don't have enough. High income creates pressure because you have more to lose. Money solves problems, then it creates new ones. That is the part nobody explains. The biggest lesson I learned is simple. Money doesn't reveal who you are, it magnifies who you already are. If you are anxious, more money gives you bigger things to worry about. If you are disciplined, more money gives you more opportunities. If you understand money, it becomes a tool. If you don't, it becomes another source of pressure. Today, when I look back at the person I was making $10 an hour, I don't see someone unsuccessful. I see someone who understood the value of every dollar. Someone who learned lessons that no finance book could teach. Because before you learn how to grow money, you have to learn what money means. And the biggest change wasn't the number in my bank account. It was the distance between who I was and who I became.